How did my MG Essence behave during a fairly lengthy 2,000 kilometer, let's loosely call it road test? Long drive that I did with my family, full car, 4 people in the car, up the eastern coast of Australia and then back down to Sydney. Let's talk about it. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Dimitri. So today we're talking again about capabilities, build quality, features of MG Essence top-of-the-range model in Australia, Australian version. This car was purchased in 2021. It's still brand new. At the moment of recording of this video, I have only 3,700 kilometers here under the wheels of this car. It's brand new. The trip, as I said, took a little bit over 2,000 kilometers, so it's a pretty lengthy trip. So you kind of get a feel for the car. It's 10 hours drive from Sydney to almost the border of Queensland and then back down, and quite a bit of driving, fair bit of driving in between. So first of all, comfort. Let's assess the comfort. I drove many cars in my life. I have not had very premium, high-end, super expensive, overpriced cars. Of course, those probably by definition would offer you better comfort, but this was phenomenal. For this price range of 36,000 Australian dollars, top of the range version model that I got, yet again, not talking now theoretically during my first impressions video or whatever. Now, from practice, 10 hours drive. That's a long freaking drive. I'm sure you would agree with me. As a driver, I felt fantastic. Seats were fantastic. Back support, side support, everything felt great. I did not feel fatigued, did not feel bad. Yes, we did stops in between. We stopped about halfway for half an hour to have lunch. Then we had another pit stop. Not pit stop, but just like a little break. So yeah, I found that it was not as tiring to drive this car for what it's worth. I think it drove really well and offered a lot of support and comfort. Same thing about passengers. I would say that passengers, I had 2 kids in the back, relatively big kids, not little kids, and I had my wife with me as well. Nobody complained. Comfort offered by this car definitely was value for money, definitely proven to be fantastic. So that's one massive plus. That's where car did not disappoint. Second point, I would say that fuel consumption was about, so on the highway it was doing about 700 to 800 kilometers per tank of MGHS. I'd say that's pretty good considering that the tank here is not massive. You can obviously look up all the technical specifications, latest and greatest. I would not try and quote by heart because I'm not a specialist, okay? But for me, that was sort of what I expected. That was fine. Power of the car on the highway felt great as well. So it was a highway, it was a fairly easy drive. We were not attempting to do anything particularly tricky, no attempted 4-wheel driving or bush driving or anything like that, traumatic for the vehicle that's not made for that purpose. So I thought that on the highway, 1.5 turbo petrol engine that this car has performed fantastic. It was great. It was good on overtaking. It did not hesitate. It did not lag. It did not feel sluggish. And once again, boot was full. We will talk about the boot in a second. I had 4 fairly grown people in the car. So that was, take it for what it's worth. It was fine. I talked already about the most overrated feature of MGHS top of the range and ZST in the previous video briefly to you, and it was the sunroof. I thought when I was buying the car that I'll be driving around with sunroof open like 70% of the time for fresh air, for light, for all that kind of stuff. I still maintain the position that it's overrated, and if you are looking for a car and sunroof is one of your kind of top of the range tick boxes that you're trying to tick and you think that's why you would get top of the range MG, I recommend against it. Save your money. You don't need it, especially in hot countries such as Australia. You will only feel hot and you will never use it. So that, again, everything worked, everything is fine, but you don't need it. I would like to confirm it to you that during a massively long drive, we never used it. And we even went through rain, through sun. We even had changing weather conditions quite a bit. Weather was very temperamental during our drive. It was not always like it is right now here outside my window. So regardless of the weather, it's not like it even crossed my mind like, ah, it's dark skies and kind of rain, let's open the sunroof for a bit of a light, open the sunroof shade for a bit of a light. No, I can tell you practically not something that you would be doing, my friend. You can save your money. What else can I say positive about this car? Overall, I was very impressed. I think it performed well. I think it took the corners well. I think the bigger wheels, I think 19-inch alloy wheels that this car comes with, I think that the suspension was great. The absorption of any little kind of rattling on the road was fantastic. We did not feel discomforted at any point in time. That is the main positive feedback I can say about this car. It was great. It was great. Did not disappoint. Nothing went wrong. Okay. Now to what did go wrong. What did go wrong? First of all, and the biggest thing that I can say that sort of disappointed me at one point, but it's not a showstopper, it's not something that was critical, but I have to report it anyway because I promised it to you, was the boot. First of all, when you're buying this car, and if you think this car is going to be for city use, yep, good, but you think you at least have 4 people in the family, and you think you'll be doing a fair bit of maybe holiday driving, stuff like that. That was kind of our use case. We do not have a big family where we need a massive people mover. And I'm not trying to compare this to people movers or anything like that, okay? Because that would be an unfair comparison. But even with that in mind, when you look at the boot of this car, when you're buying it, I don't think it's as obvious to you, and certainly the dealer is not going to draw your attention to it, my friends, that the boot is relatively small. Please talk to me in the comments down below as you always do. Always appreciate constructive feedback and constructive opinion sharing kind of here. That's what I want on my channel. Maybe I am just spoiled by my previous car, which was Jeep Wrangler JKU, the long 4-door model, the Golden Eagle top of the range wagon, right? It had a massive boot, okay? And I never had an issue with luggage or anything or extras. If we want to take pillows with us, if we want to have a little bike with us, if we want to have anything, everything kind of fit in. Obviously, creatures' comforts were low in a Jeep. So that's where the cars cannot be compared. MG HS wins hands down in creatures' comforts. But at the same time, when you look at the boot, I had my Jeep for 3 years. And I used it for little city camping during COVID, that kind of stuff, where you couldn't go anywhere, where you had to eat in your car and that kind of stuff. It was fine. It was great. Fantastic car, right? But now, maybe I'm spoiled, and maybe that's why when I look at MGHS's boot, and I tried to fit the things of the bags of 4 people in the car, we each had one relatively little bag, travel bag kind of with us, right? Plus a few things here and there, beach towels, 1 pillow, just to make sure that the sleep is comfortable where the accommodation was and stuff like that, right? Nothing outlandish. And it felt jam-packed. It felt like at one point the back door, the boot door, even refused to close. It even refused to close, like, oh, I can't close, it's a bit tight for me. So I had to like reposition and tuck things even further so that it closes. So for boot space, if one of your relative priorities is to take these trips with your family and you have a fair bit of things to take with you, especially if you have young kids, normally, as they say, the age of the kids is directly proportionate to the amount of stuff that you need. So the younger, the more you need. If that's your case, I can't recommend the car to you. The space for passengers at the back, space for people in the front is fantastic, phenomenal, great. But when you have all this stuff to put at the back, there is less space than you think. Was disappointed. And here is where stuff went wrong. So we were packing up to go back to Sydney from wherever we were staying, yeah? And packed up the car, same way as we're packing up from Sydney, same things, same little suitcases, same beach towels, same stuff at the back of the car. Reasonably well packed, I'd say. I'm pressing the button to automatically close the boot. Great feature. You don't need to do it by hand, especially if your hands are full, you have like bags and all you had was a pinky to press the button with. Great. The thing starts closing by itself automatically. Normally. For some unknown reason, after the first time, this automatic closing failed because the car thought that I packed it up too much or whatever, and I needed to reposition the luggage there a little bit. Then there was definitely plenty of space for the door to close without pushing it or anything. And I pressed the button again, as the video shows to you, and nothing happens. Nothing happens, no dings, no bongs, no nothing. I press the button, it doesn't close. I press the button, it doesn't close. In the end, I had to manually, like good old days, give up on that completely feature that just gave up on me for some reason, and put it and just close it by hand, which worked fine. It locked, everything was fine. Now, before you ask me what happened next, I was disappointed. I was like, well, that's definitely something to report to you, my friends, because that is an insight that you otherwise wouldn't know. It's the temperamental electronics of this car, essentially. To me, that's how I interpret it. Let me know in the comments down below if you had any similar experiences, okay? Got home to Sydney, unloaded. Now I'm in this car again, just driving city errands, this and that. The boot closes again, no problem. Well, right now it's relatively empty. Obviously, the suitcases are not there. But I can open it, I can close it. With that button, it closes by itself automatically. So, it's not like something went wrong or broke, per se, in the car. But this, yet again, highlights the fact that the electronics of this car, finish of this car, as far as being very clear and user-friendly and reliable, is questionable. It's questionable. Can I live with it? Yeah, absolutely, because the pluses still massively outweigh the minuses. But the more I have the car, the more I see that there are bits and pieces like this, that at one random time, I'm just gonna give up on you. And you're like, come on, mate, what's going on? So that is probably the biggest insight, so that the boot space is not good in this car for a family drive, and that automatic closing of the boot, which is a fantastic feature on paper, and as dealers will absolutely tell you about it. Oh, it closes the boot automatically. But then it gives up on you, and you don't even know why. And then it starts working again, and you don't even know why. So that is the insight for you, my friends, today. I hope you found this a little bit useful. I hope you like these little check-ins from me with insights here and there, good and bad, about the car. And yes, we are moving on to ZST, starting to review ZST probably from the next video, because I spent enough time covering my MGHS, and I think I know the car now pretty well. Its kinks, its pros, its cons. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.